We're back. There we have it. The light's coming through, so it looks like there's a bloody fog or something. We're going to have to just deal with it. So, day 120 of using Vinted to sell my old stuff. That got me started selling collectibles. A business I love, passionate about it. And yeah, always chasing to get the collectibles in that either interest me as a kid or all the way up to now, because by doing that, I'm hoping that by buying the things that interest me, I enjoy all parts of the process: listing, sourcing, learning about it, packing it, talking about it, everything. So yeah, I'm basically using Vinted to sell my old stuff that's no longer sat on an online platform for people to buy. Just because it's not something that's no longer interest to me doesn't mean it's not an interest to other people. So I'm using Vinted to learn the platform. Also start to grow DM Collectors Lounge using my old stuff on a new platform, with hopes in the future probably start a business account on Vinted, but we're not there yet. So yeah, it's Friday today, so we're going to be checking in, showing you the balance update, show you some sales first that have come through thanks to the Vinted pot balance and on Vinted, and then talk to you about, I don't know, like plans for what I've been doing this week on Vinted. I need to open up Vinted, to be fair. And then yeah, have a little chat before I wish you all a good weekend. So let's open up the Vinted. But first, eBay. So I'm talking about eBay on the Vinted playlist, whatever, because I basically, the money that's been building in the Vinted pot balance, instead of leaving that in the pot building up, I've decided to reinvest it and buy the collectibles that interest me, put them on my eBay store because that's where the business is, and then any sales that come in from the Vinted pot balance gets re-added to the Vinted pot balance, where hopefully it's going to build money quicker, and it's proven effective. Yeah, let's talk about some sales on eBay. So we had 2 sales. We had a repeat customer come in from Malta. He bought 3 Rocky figures from me, one of which was bought using the Vinted pot balance. So that was a NECA Rocky figure, really nice figure. The Rocky figures, they're some of my favourite figures because Rocky's like probably the best film series of all time. 1 second. So yeah, a really nice figure. I do actually have it in my personal collection. 1 second. So I do have this in my personal collection as well. So we've got Rocky Balboa there, raising his hands, and he's got the classic belt. That's one in my personal collection. And then yeah, somebody else has bought another one that I had. Let me go and put him back. So in total, that collector spent, how much did they spend? I've not wrote down how much they spent, but that figure was basically a £65 figure. A £65 figure. So I've put like around £45 to £50 into the Vinted pot balance. Then we had another buyer, another collector who bought 3 Rocky figures off me. This time it was from the Jack's Pacific range. They were made a little bit earlier than the NECAs, but 2 of those figures out of the 3 were basically bought using the Vinted pot balance, and that was Lou Filippo, the referee in Rocky Balboa, and also Pauli in his gold jacket. So they both sold, and I've wrote down here after fees, yeah, it was about £70. So from those 3 figures, we've had about £120, give or take, added to the Vinted pot balance. So really promising. It does, before I go on to the Vinted pot balance, before I go on to the Vinted sales, I do think that day 147 we're going to miss the £3,000 target, just because a lot of money's been spent, and the way that I run my eBay business, I'm not in a rush to like get listings on. I'm not in a rush. I've got like my little routine. I'm consistent with it, and I'm happy with the results. Maybe if I work like a dog, my income could be 10 times more. But right now, I'm really happy with the results and what's happening in my eBay business. So that being said, breathe. The money that's being spent using the Vinted pot balance, it's not just like being churned out like it's on a conveyor belt and we have to list it. Like, that isn't the philosophy that I have for my business. So some of these collectibles are probably going to be going on after the day 147. So we're not really like maximising our potential, but it's okay if we miss the target. We're still going to strive for the £4,000 target, taking a day off, 46 days from day 147. Sounds complicated, but it's not. It's just the way I'm talking. But yeah, Vinted sales. Let's have a look. How have we been doing there? So the last sale I told you about was for. Was it for that? Let's have a look. I think it was. So last sale I told you about was for a wrestling belt that went for £10. I do say the double digits are happy days because it gets that pot balance building up quicker and also giving us more money to reinvest. But we've crashed back down to earth with a selfie stick that sold for £2. But again, all these things add up. Then we had last night, bit annoyed with this one just because I got the two figures out to pack and then I forgot some other figures, so I couldn't. It's going to be tomorrow when I send these instead. So we had a bundle of 3 items go, 2 wrestling figures and some loose wrestling figures, £25.65, which is, yeah, like I always say, great news. It frees up listings on the Vinted store. If you're new to the channel, my aim is to keep the Vinted store low, and so I'm doing that by setting myself a rule that I can only have a maximum of 100 listings on my Vinted store. So if I want to get more stuff on, I have to basically change prices, bump items, send offers out, all that jazz, just to basically make sure I'm learning the platform and getting this old stuff of mine out the door, basically. So yeah, a bundle of 3 going, frees up listings, and it's a good amount. Then this morning we've had a wrestling belt go that went for a tenner, happy days. And then we had a wrestling t-shirt go for £5.50. I've had these wrestling t-shirts for such a long time, but I've basically gone through. I've decided there's probably 10 to 15 shirts I want for the eBay store, and I'll make sure they go on before Christmas. But the ones that I'm not too fussed about, we're just going to put them on Vinted, move them on, and it's a really nice shirt, to be fair. It's Stone Cold, and it's from the it's basically featuring the Scotland flag on the Stone Cold Steve Austin logo crest, but it's the smoking skull basically. But yeah, that went for £5.50. So again, another decent sale. The money, do we talk about the money now? Yeah, let's talk about the money. So get the piggy up. Like I said, the money's being spent, so I'm not worried if we miss this target, whatever. The previous balance when I spoke to you last Friday was £530.65. Yeah, the balance got really close to zero because, yeah, loads of money's been spent. But this week we've had some decent sales. Like I said, to say only 3 figures sold relating to the Vinted pot balance, it's like boosted that Vinted pot balance up a bit. So as of today, it now stands at £496.32. Still a long way from the 4 figures we were at when I was at we got it up all the way up to £2,032, which is like a lot closer to the £3,000 target. But like I said last week, you have to spend money to make it. Like, you just have to. So yeah, let me tell you the plans. Let's have a look at the Vinted store. I think I did some listings this week. I'll put a little video up just while I'm going through. Yeah, so you can see that I've listed a few extra wrestling t-shirts. That I like the photos, to be fair, they look good. I put on like a little Manchester United bundle. Again, I bought a bundle, and originally I bought it for some pennants, but then in there was some like old Manchester United, like a wallet, some pens, and some like annual books and stuff. And the funny thing about that is, when I opened up the wallet, this was inside. Absolutely mental. So inside the wallet, you couldn't write it. There was 2 old Dutch notes, an old £20 note, and an old £10 note. Yeah, couldn't write it. I just thought I'll open it up, see if there's anything inside, and lo and behold, there was some money. But it is old notes. I'm not sure if you can still cash it in at the bank, but if not, I'm sure it's still collectible and might be able to get some extra money from those, but they'd go on my eBay store. But yeah, I don't really know what else there is to talk about today. Not really too much, just because the focus is on the eBay store, and a lot of the priority is like going into like updating multi-listings, getting stuff on for October. September's already all done, so I need to start like working towards October now. But yeah, not really too much to talk about. Tuesday, over the weekend, I'll stay on top of the listings because we've got 95 items, so I'll put 5 items up over the weekend, just stuff that I've got lying around. And yeah, just keep chipping away every day, chip away, have a good weekend. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, do whatever you need to do. See you in a bit.